How's it going, folks? I'm Des with DesFit, and this is the Apple Watch Series 7, which updates the Series 6 with a slightly larger case, a larger display, a more durable build, as well as faster charging. And all those features were really nice to see and all, but it was kind of a shorter list of upgrades this year. But the Series 6 already had quite a bit of features, including an SpO2 sensor, ECG, as well as that always-on display, which are also found on the Series 7. A lot of the new features that came out this year were the Watch OS 8, like on the fitness end of things, those are going to be features like automatic cycling detection, as well as fall detection for cycling. And what's interesting about Watch OS 8 is that when I was retesting the Series 3 as well as the SE, I also saw improvements to GPS accuracy, so those are really nice to see. But anyways, going back to the Series 7, which is what this video is all about. So in this video, I'll be comparing the Series 7 from the hardware end of things to the Series 6, but I also have some back-to-back tests for running, cycling, as well as weight training, where I was wearing the Series 6 on one wrist and one of these Series 7s on the other wrist, just to get a good comparison of GPS as well as heart rate accuracy. Apple didn't mention any change or update to the GPS or heart rate sensors on the Series 7, but from some of my tests, I actually did notice a little bit of a difference in terms of heart rate as well as GPS accuracy, so definitely stick around for details on that later in the video. So from the hardware end of things, here's the Series 7 next to the Series 6 with the blue versions of both of them. So they increased the case size ever so slightly on the large version from 44mm to 45mm, and on the small version they went from 40mm to 41mm. The difference is pretty much indistinguishable when you're wearing them, but the bigger difference is with the display, where with the Series 7 you get a 20% larger display. And with that new larger display, things are just a little bit larger overall, and it's definitely noticeable. And they leveraged this new display with some of their new watch faces that bleed all the way to the edge. And then for data-hungry people, they also have this new modular dual watch face. The new display is also supposed to be brighter in its always-on display mode when you're not interacting with the watch. And these sort of slight brightness upgrades are usually hard to see, but this was definitely noticeable to me. It may be hard to tell a difference on video, but in real life, it's much more noticeable. Oh, and then going back to the blue color this year, it's quite a bit different than last year's blue color for sure. So the Series 6 blue color is this rich, deep blue, where the new one is significantly lighter. It seems to have a bit more shine to it, and the band is also a bit lighter. It's just something to note if you're a fan of those Series 6 blue and were curious about the Series 7 blue. And then here's the Series 7 Nike edition, and the difference between the Nike editions and the non-Nike editions is that these come with a special Nike sport band, the Nike Run Club app pre-installed, and some special Nike watch faces. And I do have to say that this new bouncy watch face is pretty cool. I mean, I probably played around with it for a bit too long when I first got it set up, but the Nike edition still has the new contour watch face just like the non-Nike edition Series 7s. Oh, and really quick, if you're finding the information in this video useful, do me a favor and just hit that like button down below. It's a small little thing that'll help this video and the channel a lot, quite a bit, and I appreciate it. The Series 7 is also supposed to be more durable with what I think they're calling the most crack-resistant front crystal, and being someone who actually has cracked an Apple Watch before, that's definitely nice to hear, but I don't think I heard any mention about being more scratch-resistant. But it is also supposed to be IP6X dust-resistant, and it is still water-resistant down to 50 meters. The Series 7 also has 33% faster charging, where you can go from like 0 to 80% in like 45 minutes and like a full charge in about an hour. And then if you're headed to bed and notice that you don't have enough juice to track your sleep during the night, you can apparently just place your watch on the charger for 8 minutes, which will get you 8 hours of sleep tracking. And then another thing to note is that the Series 7 does also come with a new charging puck that has USB-C on one end, which has something to do with that faster charging. So really, those are the big new things with the Series 7, and other than that, things should pretty much be the same as the Series 6, right? Well, from the sports and fitness end of things, I did notice some minor differences in terms of GPS and heart rate accuracy, which I found to be kind of interesting. Okay, so first let's talk about GPS. So like I mentioned earlier, with Watch OS 8, I already have seen improvements with GPS accuracy going all the way back to the Series 3. And I've also retested the Series 3 versus the SE for a back-to-back comparison video, which I'll have out in a little bit, but I already did publish my re-review of the Series 3, which I'll have linked down in the description below if you're curious on the test results on that device. But coming back to the Series 7 GPS, so for all the following examples, I made sure to have my phone off or just didn't even bring my phone with me, just to ensure that the Series 7s were using their onboard GPS and not trying to piggyback off of my phone. So what happens when you're tracking outdoor activity if you have your phone with you is that Apple Watches will actually try to piggyback off your phone's GPS, which does have the advantage of a slight savings of battery life, but your phone's GPS can vary a bit. So by just not having my phone with me or turning it completely off, I'm ensuring that I'm testing the actual GPS chipsets on the watches themselves. So when comparing the total distances on this first run, good stuff overall, and all the devices lined up pretty well. And then the same thing goes for the run that I did the next day. And then for road cycling, all the devices were pretty close to each other for this first bike ride, but the Series 7 did come up about 1/10 of a mile short. And funny enough, on the second road ride I did the next day, which was actually on the exact same course, it also came up about 1/10 of a mile short, but that's really not that big a deal though. But where it starts to get interesting is with the actual GPS tracks though. So if you've been a long time subscriber to the channel, you've probably seen these exact curves many times before, and it's an area where I like to test the finer detail of GPS tracks. So the Series 7 is in orange, and then the Series 6, that's going to be in the purple. So on the sharp corner up top, you can see that the Series 7 is more accurate than the Series 6, where the Series 6 takes a little bit wide. And then on this bottom corner, same deal, where the Series 7 was spot on with the actual curve, as well as the device that's in teal, which is the Chorus Vertex 2, which tends to get some extremely accurate GPS tracks. And then the Series 6, again, takes it a little bit wide, but still pretty good. Now, even though the Series 6 did take those corners a little bit wide, it's still much better than what Apple used to do, where on this corner, it used to just ignore it altogether and kind of just blow right through it. So overall, I am seeing more accuracy here from both, although the Series 7 seems to be a bit more accurate. And then for a bike ride outside, which kind of tests the GPS accuracy at higher speeds, I'm seeing basically the exact same thing, where on straight sections, both the Series 6 and the Series 7 are spot on and solid. But on curves, the Series 6 is overshooting a little bit, where the Series 7 is pretty much spot on. There were just a couple of corners where the Series 7 was a little bit off, but overall, I have to say that GPS accuracy on the Series 7 seems to be a little bit better than the Series 6. So now onto heart rate accuracy, and this was kind of interesting for me. So the Series 6, it has one of the best wrist-based optical heart rate sensors that I've ever tested. And from what I can tell, I can't really tell a difference between the Series 7 and the Series 6 heart rate sensor at all. So in theory, the results should be pretty much identical. So in all the following examples of heart rate accuracy, I was wearing the Series 6 on one wrist and then one of the Series 7s on my other wrist. And then I was also wearing a chest heart rate strap as well as an arm heart rate strap for comparison. And then with the Nike edition Series 7, even though it does come with this Nike sport band, I made sure to actually change it out to the same kind of band that I was using on the Series 6, just to have a nice even playing field. And one more thing I do want to mention before going through these examples is that I'm looking at these results from a very detailed level with a fine-tooth comb, mainly because the Series 6 has such a good heart rate sensor, so I'm kind of holding these to some high standards. In the whole scheme of things, Apple Watches in general have good heart rate sensors, but it is kind of my job to show you the differences, whether they're big or small. Okay, so let's first start out with a run, and I have the Series 7 in orange and the Series 6 in purple. So starting out, there was about a 30 to 45 second period where all the heart rate sensors took a little bit to lock onto heart rate, and this is pretty much normal behavior, so no worries there. Right around the 6-minute mark though, we can see that the Series 7 drifted a bit, where the Series 6 was pretty much spot on. Where we start to see a little bit more noticeable difference is at the tail end of the workout, where the Series 7 dipped a bit. And then for road cycling, this is an activity where you start to introduce more variables which can throw off a wrist-based optical heart rate sensor, like vibrations as well as bumps in the road. And we can definitely see more variance here, but interestingly enough, more so from the Series 7 than the Series 6. There are a few little mini spikes on the first portion of the workout, but on the tail end of the workout, there were these spikes that lasted a little bit longer from the Series 7, and this is kind of uncharacteristic for an Apple Watch to wander off like this. So this was obviously a bit strange for me, considering the Series 6 and the Series 7 shared the same heart rate sensor, so in theory they should be producing the same kind of results. So what I did is I went out the next day, did pretty much the exact same workouts, but this time I switched to the other Series 7 just to see if the results were going to be any different. So in this next run, the Series 6 took a bit longer to lock on the heart rate, but after that it was pretty much in line for the most part, other than a little hiccup here and here. But interestingly enough, the Series 7, right around again that 6-minute mark like the last run, tracked a little bit high. And then on the tail end of the run, it wandered slightly, but definitely not as bad as the run before. And then for road biking, I went out and did the exact same route just to replicate the same kind of test conditions, and even the temperature was the same for this ride. This time the Series 7 took about a minute to lock on, again, no big deal, and then both watches were pretty solid through the first half of the workout. But then on the tail end of the workout, the Series 7 wandered a little bit, not as bad as the first road ride, but slightly less accurate than the Series 6. And then for weight training, which is actually one of the hardest type of activities for a wrist-based optical heart rate sensor to get right just because of the gripping motion as well as the varying arm movement, both the watches did pretty darn well for this type of activity, but the Series 6, it did have a rather large spike here and then a little spike here. And then the Series 7 was actually much more consistent throughout the entire workout, but there were a few sets where it tracked a little bit low. But overall for weight training, these are actually very good results for wrist-based optical heart rate sensors. So those are definitely kind of some interesting results, especially the running and biking examples, considering the Series 6 and the Series 7 share the same heart rate sensor, but I was getting slightly more accurate results out of the Series 6. And if it was just one of the Series 7s that was that way, that's one thing, but considering I was seeing similar results out of both Series 7s, that tells me something a little bit different. We did see sort of the same thing happen with the Series 5 when it first first came out, where it wasn't producing as accurate results as what I was expecting, considering the results I saw from the Series 4 as well as the Series 3. So it very well could be the same case with the Series 7, where they may just need a little bit of time to tweak the firmware to get it in line with the Series 6. And I suppose there's some other things to consider, such as maybe they had to rework their internals on the Series 7 because it does have a slightly larger case. It could be different manufacturing cycles, different sourcing for components. I don't really know. All I can do is just kind of share the data that I collected. But really, in the whole scheme of things, the Series 7, it still does have a good heart rate sensor, and it's definitely something that I would rely on, but I did see some differences between the Series 7 and the Series 6. And that brings up whether or not you should upgrade to the Series 7 if you're a Series 6 owner. So heart rate accuracy aside, the Series 7 does have the larger display, it has the brighter always-on display mode, it has the faster charging, as well as the more durable build. And all those are definitely nice new features, but it is arguably more of an S-tier upgrade. So if you have the money to upgrade, sure, go for it, but your Series 6, it already does quite a bit. Anyhow, if you liked the video, if you found the information in this video useful, don't be shy about hitting that like button down below, and also subscribing to the channel for lots more really in-depth sports tech reviews just like this one, including the Apple Watch SE versus Apple Watch Series 3 comparison video, which I'll have out in a little bit. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.